Sheriff Boswell, you and your wife, lovely wife Martha.
Indeed. Born in Haverhill, New Hampshire in 1836. After a number of years, my father emancipated me when I was about 19 years old, and I went off towards the Wisconsin area to earn a fortune in lumbering.
And that's
where I met. Indeed.
Oh,
Unfortunately, lumbering was not too kind to me, as I fell into a rafting accident with a large group of logs and managed to get myself what they call lung fever in those days.
Pneumonia, we know it. And I had to nurse him for a long time.
Yes.
And finally, the doctor said that he needed to go west where there was less humidity to be able to recuperate in his lungs. So we were married before he left.
And 9 years later, we resumed then.
Wow.
He just went off, and we weren't together for 9 years. So I hung out with my parents in their house and helped with the kids and the housework and everything. Till he sent for me after he bought and established a drugstore here in Laramie.
Oh, were you one of our first druggists?
Well, I wasn't actually a druggist myself. I was smart enough to hire some good druggists.
Very good.
Starting over in Cheyenne first.
Okay.
And we had a little apothecary over there.
Yes.
And then we came over here, created a little larger store because Laramie seemed to be a growing community and therefore would need it. Plus, there was also a number of people in town who would get beat up by the ruffians who were running it at the time, so they needed a good
So
apothecary.
tell me what year this is, Sheriff.
Well, when it was 1868. when I
Okay,
came
so
in.
that first year when the train first arrived here.
I was here before the train.
Okay.
I was while it was still into the town tracks.
Okay, yes.
So that was there. Prior to that, I'd been down Colorado way doing a little gold mining and discovered that the sale of lumber and the freighting services to get the lumber to the mine was much more profitable than digging in the ground. So that's how I managed to have a nice claim of my own, which I traded for the apothecary goods
There you
that I then
go.
ended up taking to Cheyenne. Then after my arrival here in Laramie, they tended to take my time as a guard on the stage services and in the freight wagons to heart, as they wanted to rid the town of some ruffians.
Yes.
And so that's how we first got our first vigilance committee formed.
Right.
Me and Ned Spicer had managed part of doing that. And we rid the town in a few weeks of the
So that was
nasty
still
folks.
68
That's
when that
still
was
68
happening.
going
Yeah.
on, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
And then about that time, we began looking at the new Women's Suffrage Act. And there was a shooting over at the Shamrock Hotel.
Yes.
Okay, Andy Howie involved. Well, Judge Howell decided that we ought to have some ladies for that juror. And so he sent me out as the newly appointed sheriff of Albany County to round up some ladies for the jury. And off I went. Started with Liza Stewart. Easy to find because she was the school teacher.
That's right.
And she was
That's
down
right.
at the schoolhouse. Then I went on around to get Mary Mackel and Amelia Hart. And Agnes, who got excused from jury duty. She was the only one I didn't keep in the herd, so to say.
Yes.
And so they managed to try Andy Howell for his shooting at the Shamrock Hotel. Did find him guilty. So that impressed Judge Howell that the ladies did indeed pay attention to it, and the fellows would have probably let him be off.
And you, if I remember right, you were the reason you thought of who should be the bailiff when they had to stay overnight.
Well, that's what happened. Is you needed somebody who had a familiarity with operating men's and women's in situations, and since she had the boarding house, Martha Boyce was a good choice.
She
for that-
was, yes.
for that role.
Very good.
Didn't have much to do with the ladies until it was election time in September.
Right.
Okay, and legend has it that I actually escorted Louisa Swain to the poll. But it's one of those legends that Mary Lou Pence person writes in her little book. The thing is, September 6th is also Martha's birthday.
Oh.
So she's being 33 years old, and I'm escorting a lady around town.
Yes.
It was probably Martha. But Louisa and I were well acquainted. You know, she was a very prominent lady about the town.
Yeah.
And so I kind of go with the story that she was out getting her yeast and got invited in to vote early.
That's good.
That's how she
Oh,
became the
you
first
know,
woman voter.
Sheriff, you were one of the most honorable men here, from what I've heard.
Longest lived, anyway.
But also the respect for the Boswell name is a big deal. Yeah, with that territorial prison and everything you did to clean up our town, you were quite honorable. So
appreciate
I don't
that.
think
Thank you.
anybody would think you'd be two-time old Martha.
You better not, or I'll punch him out.
Very good.
And the last course was Mary Slauson over at the
Mae Slauson over
Mae
there.
Slauson over at the territorial prison.
Right.
I was able to help appoint her as the first chaplain of any prison,
Right.
any prison
In the
United States.
world. In the world,
I've
first
had a
woman
number
chaplain.
of firsts with women in my time.
Yes, that's right. That's right. How many years were you married? Do you remember?
35.
Right?
I think, yeah, because I died when I was 56. I
young.
never even got to see my daughter Minnie get married or meet my grandkids.
Oh,
So that was
you
just
were
sad.
quite
But he
young.
lived to be 85.
Ah, very good. And still here in
I'm around
Laramie.
town. Yeah, that's why I said
Very
there's
good.
a lot of old timers.